Welcome back, everybody. As you may know, in the previous couple videos, I have been grueling trying to get this Type R head ready for my CRX. As you may know, it is currently just a basic B20B bottom end, and we will be putting a Type R head on this bottom end. So by the end of today, this car will be popping VTEC so hard that you will shit your pants. Probably not that hard, but it will be popping mad VTEC by the end of the day, and that's all that matters because it is in fact a Honda. And what's a Honda without VTEC? So we're gonna be doing that today. I'm trying to do it all in one day. It's already 11:20, so I'm gonna give myself a couple hours, and this thing's gonna just explode into a million pieces. I'm gonna give you all a time lapse, so that'll probably be all of like 30 seconds to a minute. But hopefully within 4 hours, the head will be on it, intake manifold, exhaust manifold will all be together, and I will be able to be doing the finishing touches on this car. And probably by the end of today, we will be hitting VTEC pretty good. So we'll see what happens. I do have to also adjust some things on the tune, but let's get to it. No time to waste. We got a busy day ahead of us. Let's go. I guess I could have just pushed that, huh? Oh well, one last drive. Alright, so we got headers are off, intake manifold is ready to come off. I think I'm going to leave that on and pull that with the head. Fuel rails off, fuel lines disconnected, all the radiator hoses, most of the radiator hoses are disconnected. I'm now going to start removing the timing belt and timing components because we're also going to have to change this out with the VTEC head. And then after that, it's head bolts. This head comes off, VTEC conversion starts taking place. With the new VTEC conversion parts, I got oil sandwich plate, courtesy of my man Mike Massey. Thank you very much for that, sir. He also has a YouTube channel himself. If you want to check it out, Mike Massey 661 on YouTube. Check him out, give him a follow. Tell him I sent you. Back to it. All I got left are the head bolts, and then the head's gonna lift right off. Like, it's that simple, right? It'll look that simple, I guarantee you. All right. Woo! What time is it? Give me a time. Somebody give me a time. What time is it? It is 12:50. I stopped for 10 minutes to go take the battery out of the camera. Not too bad. Look at this. Mad Automotive. Thanks, bud. Again, I don't know if I've said thank you enough yet, but if I haven't said thank you, thank you. This is gonna go in place of the oil filter. We're gonna run in dash 6. AN line, I got fittings. Luckily, that's the beautiful thing about having two project cars, multiple project cars. You have extra stuff like that laying around. All right, so we're gonna get some AN hose on this here first. If you wouldn't mind just following me to my orifice. We can just step into my orifice. We'll make some custom stainless steel braided line for this. Need some AN hose. I don't know what this is from, but that'll work actually. Let's just do it like this. Spare fittings. Let's go. All right, make sure they fit. Yeah, they fit. So we're gonna do this. Make sure it bottoms out. There we go. We're gonna thread this onto here. Tighten that down. Pretty sure that's O-ring. I don't really have any instructions, and I'm not gonna bother Mike about it. If it leaks, I'll pull it back apart. But honestly, with the O-ring in there, I don't think it's gonna leak, whether it's an orb fitting or not. All right, so let's see if we can get this in here. Alright guys, I went specifically with the ARP head stud kit for the B20B and B16A. Years ago they didn't sell this kit. I believe you would have to go with whatever kit matches the head that's going onto the block, and sometimes you'd end up with differing sizes depending on which one you got. But this one is specifically meant for this setup, so if you want the part number, there it is. That's kind of what I thought would happen. You know what's funny is I saw Young Static's video on this, and he said he had to drill some of these out. And I was like, why didn't he drill them out? Why didn't he just pull the studs out? Well, both sides of the studs, the threads are bigger than the actual shaft itself, so you can't actually do that. Alright, so I've been playing around with this for quite a while now, at least 30-40 minutes. Young Static actually suggested a step drill bit. I'm using my pliers with a paper towel to keep it from scuffing it. Alright, so let me catch y'all up to speed, because it's been an entire afternoon battle. Unfortunately, sacrifices had to be made. Shit went south quick. The problem is the ARP studs do not fit through the dowels. Wasted about 4 hours trying to get those dowels into the block. It was not fun. Like I said, sacrifices had to be made. Fingers crossed. Won't have to do any kind of modifying or anything like that. Just gotta slap it right on. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. Alright. Here we go. Alright guys, I wasn't hoping to make this video. Remember that part where I said it'll be popping VTEC by the end of today? It'll be popping VTEC so hard that you will shit your pants. Well, I'm sure you're aware of Murphy's Law, right? Anything bad that can happen will happen. So let me go over what the problem I had was. As you can see, the head's on the car, but it's not actually bolted down or nothing. It's literally just resting there. As a matter of fact, I'm worried that the dowels may not be sitting properly. So, the dowels on this car, on this motor, in this particular setup, you have to get special dowels that are smaller on the bottom and bigger on the top, because the dowels have to fit down into the motor, into the bottom end, and go into the head. Well, the problem that I was having was that the dowels would fit perfectly in the block and the head, but it wouldn't go around the stud. So I had to drill out the dowels to make them fit over the threads. Just the threads, right? Doesn't sound like that big of a deal. It was a nightmare. I had this thing apart by 12:30, right? Remember that post? 3.5 hours of my life. This thing should have been ready to go in 3.5 hours. All right, day 2. Let's get this done. I'm already missing a tool. Can you believe that? I put Pennzoil in all my cars because that's what Adam LZ said to do. I really don't. I've never used Pennzoil. Alright, so I am probably an hour and a half or so in. I was running into serious problems getting the camshaft retainer bolts in. So what was actually happening is, as I'm torquing them down, because yours truly didn't clean out the threads like he should have, there's a whole bunch of junk in there, and there's a whole bunch of junk that you can't really see apparently, but there's junk on the bolts themselves. So they were giving me a problem when I was screwing them in. I had 2 of these things. You can see this one very well. It almost broke on me. So I'm not going to be able to drive this car today because I was able to find 1 bolt and get that in, but this one here is still messed up. We will get the bolts in tomorrow morning from Honda, and it's not something that will keep me from putting the rest of the car together. So that's one good note. We're getting there. It's just one problem at a time, and it's never ending, I swear. Take your time, do it right. I can't stress that enough. Get good quality parts for this because taking shortcuts always bites you in the end, always. But let's get back to it. We got a lot of work to do. Aha, look. So here we have a good example of an underdriven water pump pulley because we're going to be revving this motor higher than it probably should be. Smaller pulley means faster spinning water pump. Bigger pulley means slower spinning water pump. So we're going to be not pushing quite as much water through the system once we get up in the revs, but this is a must for anybody looking to run a VTEC head. Oh my God, you guys, this is the kind of day I've been having. I've been looking everywhere for this. I stopped everything that I was doing for a good 40 minutes. I even went in and took a lunch break. This is it. I almost ordered a new one. I've had a very long, rough day, but we're slowly getting there. Timing belt's in. I'm making sure I got all my studs and bolts for the intake manifold, exhaust manifold. I can finally get the oil feed line going to the head with this -6 hose end fitting. Timing belt is in, new water pump, tensioner is in. I'm not too worried about the valve cover and valve cover gasket because I still have to put in that bolt. So, like I was saying, little things, one step at a time. We'll get there. I have to finish this to the point where it'll at least start and move today. Got a big project ahead of me. Oh yes, and one more thing that I forgot to mention. I can't start the car until I get new O-rings for my fuel injectors. These are flattening out. I'm not sure if you can really see it right there, but they're flattening out as I go to put them into the intake manifold or the new fuel rail. So it's just one thing after another, guys. As you saw, this motor came apart in no time at all, but if it was going right back together as it was, would have been no problem at all. But unfortunately, we are changing a lot of different things, and this is just the kind of stuff that you run into. So here we are. Let's go. Yes, and before I forget, I need to install my timing belt cover. Alright, Honda hack, pro tip. So when I initially put in the B20 motor and I wanted a new distributor, and as many of you know, the distributors for these are not cheap. So what I ended up doing, knowing that I would eventually put this VTEC head on it, I actually went out and bought the distributor that matches to this head. Now that I have this head on it, all of the ears on the distributor line up to the mounting points in the head, and I can have a nice distributor that's meant for this head now. Alright guys, this is it. For real this time. The Honda will be running in hopefully a matter of an hour. I have the final piece that was needed. Before I needed the water neck, and then I did this off camera, but the problem I was having was the fuel rail that I was using on my B20 motor. The garage is a complete mess right now. I can't deal with this, but I've got TJ Star going on. I got the Z going on. I've got my CRX B20 VTEC swap going on. I've got way too much crap going on in here right now. It's driving me nuts. But this car's almost done. That car's almost done. We're not going to talk about this one. The CRX fuel rail fit, but the fuel pressure regulator that I bought did not. So either the fuel regulator goes, which I just purchased, or the fuel rail goes, which I didn't purchase. It came with that motor. So what I did was I went on Amazon and we got ourselves the cheapest fuel rail we could find. Don't judge. So without further ado, let's get this fuel rail in, shall we?